Hello again on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome. Today we are being joined by Esteban Jaramillo. He is an alternative health therapist and we're going to be talking about self-healing, our self-healing capacity, and he's going to be sharing with us some super interesting and practical techniques. Esteban, welcome to Mindalia. How are you doing today?
Mirna, I'm doing excellent. Once again here with you guys. I feel at home with Mindalia. I hope all of you viewers have a great time with us today, and hopefully you learn simple and powerful techniques to develop your self-healing powers.
Self-healing powers. It sounds kind of a superhero type of theme, but we here in Mindalia know that it's actually real, it's possible, and it's happening. I'm going to dare to start this conversation to asking you about, from your perspective, from your expertise, what is healing? What is healing, and why are we so hesitant and so resistant to heal? It looks like we are kind of tethered to our burden and to our wounds because it's hard. It's very complicated to have the will to once and for all heal. So from your perspective, what's healing?
Well, that's a difficult question. I mean, what's healing? A very big question. But in practical terms, I think healing, it's the capacity to being to having your being balanced. I mean, when you have coherence between what you think, what you do, and what you speak, I think that's the basis for healing. And coherency, it's the basis of healing. So to heal yourself, first of all, you must know thyself, as they say, no? As philosophers say. So I think if you ask me that, healing is that. It's the capacity to be in balance. Once you are in balance, I mean, that's not healing, but being in balance and makes possible the capacity, the possibility to heal. What we are lacking, it's the ability to heal because we're going too fast. First of all, I mean, like I was telling you before, haste and the hurry is it's the demon of our time. We want everything instantaneously, fast, furious, as fast as you can. So, in fact, we are going very fast. And since you go very fast, what happens when you go that fast? You crash. So, what we need to do is to stop, know thyself, study thyself, watch what's happening with you, because that's the main point. I mean, to heal, first of all, you must know what you want to heal. And to know what you want to heal, you must stop and you must look within yourself, search, know thyself, and see what's bothering you. If you are your thoughts or your habits or your body could be speaking to you. I mean, there are many things. So besides being the coherency between thought, action, and word, I think it's the capacity to be to having your body, your mind, and your heart balanced. I mean, it's a question of balance.
You talk about crashing, and I think I just crashed. I did it because you're sending me, when I ask you about healing, you are sending me to the Delphos temple. You're sending me back into ancient Greece to see that, stone that says, know thyself. And then I can only wonder, who am I? Like, why am I so incoherent? As you were saying, definitely, I'm going to have to agree with you as me being a hypothetical patient of yours. And what I understand, or what I can find trying to know me, is that there is a lot of lack of communication. It's very hard, as you're saying, with the rush of the daily situations in which we get involved, and so much external noise. I could feel that probably I'm not very well communicated with, mind,
with
body, soul.
thyself.
How do I start? How do I start being able to listen? I understand that you are a good connoisseur. You know very well.
Of
You're high in
yoga.
knowledge with, for example, breathing techniques. You
Hmm.
teach breathing techniques. What do I get when I learn how to breathe? Because it looks like I would know, right? I'm alive. Am I breathing, but am I breathing properly?
Okay, first question, first thing you ask, why, how can you do it? The first thing we should have in mind is that we should stop. So what we should do is stop and have time for working on those themes and being conscious of ourselves that that is something important, that it's not a luxury, that that your well-being, your most important asset. I mean, your temple, your body is your temple. So once you know this, and once you give credit to the power of stillness, of stopping, you can start, like I was telling you, to know thyself. And how you could, how you do that. I mean, when you stop, or the first Eastern practices proposes, for example, meditation or yoga. What's going on in those techniques? Basically, what they are trying to do is to losing your speed, to really to have a less speed. They want you to go slower, not faster. So the first issue we must do is to be slow, think, breathe, and be present. And you only can achieve that by stopping. It's as simple as that. You should stop. And once you stop, you should start noticing yourself. What's the importance of the breath work when you want to stop? Because the breath works as an anchor for yourself. When you stop, what happens? As soon as you stop your body, I mean your physical body. What happens with your mental body? It continues going at fast and furious speeds. So what you should do to stop your mind for going that fast, because voluntarily you can stop your body. You say, okay, I'm gonna sit still. That you can do. But what's a harder thing to do? To stop your mind. The monkey mind, it's the most difficult thing to train in the world, because she's like a monkey. She wants to go everywhere. She doesn't want to be with her brights on. She wants to be jumping around. So when you sit and when you concentrate on your breathing pattern, that becomes an anchor. So your thought, your train of consciousness doesn't go to wherever it wants to, but what you are doing, it's you are holding your horses and you're bringing your mind towards one point, towards your breath. And that's the way how you start having time for yourself and getting a glimpse of yourself. First, you start to the velocity goes down, you slow down. Once your body is calm, then your mind follows. And if your mind is calm, you can feel, you can think differently. I mean, when you're in a haste, you cannot think. You can, when you're in a hurry, you are not conscious. So when you can stop and hold your horses, you start analyzing, you start realizing and watching what's around you much more clearly, because of the simple fact that you are still and you can appreciate and you can contemplate. It's not that difficult. I mean, what I'm talking about here, it's nothing scientifical, it's nothing that it's, I mean, it's the simplest thing in the world. And that's why it's so powerful, is that we have to understand that there is power in stopping, that things can have, it's like a contraction, things, the ebb and flow. I mean, the ebb and flow Chinese philosophers or Eastern philosophies talk about, it's that. You have the parasympathetic, your sympathetic system that alters you and makes you active, but you have your parasympathetic system that makes you go slower. So there must be balance between those systems. And what I can see as at the broad, having a broad view, is that that balance has been lost. So we need to stop, basically.
I am gonna have to agree with you, and I agree with you with to this extent. When we started, I was in the biggest rush, adrenaline rush, and I started talking super fast, and I started sending you these super probably complex questions. But as I hear you, as I start probably syncing with your energy, if I may say,
Mm-hmm.
normally and regularly, I start, going slower myself. What comes to
Mm-hmm.
my mind is that if you are in a road trip, for example, and you are at a normal speed, you're going to be able to not only look inside the car in which you're traveling, you can look your surroundings and have a better appreciation of it. But if you're in a bullet train, you are at the highest of the speeds, you're missing absolutely everything. Yes, you may get there earlier and faster, but you missed the joy of the journey, of the process. Am I right?
Exactly. And that's the most beautiful thing in the world, processes. I mean, the world, it's processes. Nothing is still. Everything it's moving. Everything it's moving. What you can see still, where you see stillness, that's apparent stillness. Nowadays, with Newton, with physics, we know that everything moves. So it's not that to go against movement at all. It's bringing balance to the force, as you would say. It's a thing of balance. So why it's important, this balance? Because as you go slower, as you breathe less, you can oxygenate better. There is a common misconception that or what people think is that if you breathe deeper and if you breathe more, you will get more oxygen. But that doesn't work that way. The way breathing works is by breathing less. As you breathe less and shallower and not that deeply and intense, you start to release more CO2 into your body, into your blood, and oxygen diffusion starts working. Your arteries grow, they dilate, so blood flows, temperature rises. All that happens, all that phenomenon happens when you reduce your breathing. And how do you reduce your breathing? Like I was telling you, there are many ways to reduce your breathing. You can sit on a table and do calligraphy, for example. You can watch a sunset. Stop and watch a sunset. You can hear contemplative music or meditative music, relaxing music. I mean, there are many ways to hold your horses and to start resonating and vibrating on another frequency, not just the haste frequency. Because what happens is that physiologically, if you all of the day you are in a haste and in a hurry, that's not your character. I mean, many people tend to think, oh no, that's my character. I am like that, but my body is calm. No, there's not such a thing. You are like that in a hurry because your breathing pattern it's in a hurry. You're breathing too much, so your body knows you are in a hurry. You don't have to tell her. Your brain, just by analyzing what's happening with your lungs, with your breath work, he knows that you're in a hurry. But psychologically, you think you are not in a hurry, because nothing is hurrying you. But that's the problem, that we should understand that stress, it's not something psychologically, not just psychological, but it's a physiological. And that's the most important thing, because people tend to think when I tell you, no, that you are stressed, I tell them maybe you are stressed. And what do people tell me? No, but I have a work, I have a wife, my two kids are all right, I have money, I go on vacations, there's no apparent, I'm okay, I'm not stressed. And I tell them, I'm not talking about psychological stress. I'm talking about metabolical stress. And what's metabolical stress? when you are breathing more than the norm, when you are breathing in excess, basically. And when do you breathe in excess? When you are in a hurry. I mean, but the
Or
problem goes when you're breathing in excess in a situation of calmness. For example, here, as you are interviewing me, I'm in what kind of mood I am. I'm in a contemplative mood. Let's say I'm in a calm mode. No? So my breathing should be calm. I shouldn't be, you are not watching me moving my body, moving my rib cage. I'm speaking normally. No? But what's happening today? That people in here in a calm situation are breathing as if they were running. And how can you know that? You can know that easily by feeling your body. If you are sitting down in a calm situation and you can feel movements of your clavicles or movements of your rib cage, like that, in calm, that means you are breathing in excess. There shouldn't be movement of this part of your body when you are relaxed. This part of your body, when should it move? When should you engage in a voluminous breathing or breath work, breath pattern when you're gonna do sports? I mean, if we were exercising, you can work with your whole body because you are exercising and you need more oxygen, you need more chemicals. It's a whole different story. But here, as you are talking with me, I can see that you are breathing as if you were running a race. Then I know that you are possibly chronically hyperventilating. And that's how you start to live your life in a chronic state of fight or flight, basically.
our body
Do you get
understands
it?
us. Yes, absolutely. What I wanted to ask you as I'm listening to you is our body understands in a way that we are in danger, for example, that we are, because at the end, we're just mammals, right? We're just a tiny, highly sophisticated, but just a little bit mammal. And it understands probably that we are in danger, that we need to run, for example. And it may be probably segregating substances that may even give us some sort of aggression, or we are not as peaceful individuals as we could be if we are breathing in a restful breathing
Excess.
pattern.
Exactly. That's what's happening. You are breathing in excess the whole day. So what when you're in a fight or flight response, what should your body need? Your body needs sugar to move its muscles. Your body needs blood. Where does the blood should be? In the arms and in the legs, because you're gonna run or you're gonna fight. So glucose levels go up, blood diverts into your extremities, and that's what happens when you're gonna run. So that's happening every moment in your life, but you are not running. People are still, but engaged in that response, in the fight or flight response. And why that has happened? It's like a button that's pressed that we lost control of it. It's blown like the fuse. It is blown when you breathe in excess for 3 hours, around 3 hours, your central chemoreceptor assumes that that is your breathing pattern. And he says, okay, so Mirna is breathing like this. I will go at this pace for now on. And it stays like that, just a habit. But this is the importance of this. It's just a habit. You can change it as well. I mean, you got into that habit because we have the habit of, we were talking about the first time, of being hasty. So if you're hasty, you're breathing in excess. So you were telling me, how can we stop that? if we start to do meditative practices, for example, meditation or yoga, calligraphy, if we stop, what happens immediately with our breathing volume? It decreases. It starts decreasing, and it starts going, saying, okay, Mirna can go at a different pace. She knows tranquility. She knows another mood. Wow, I can be like that. And if you start training yourself, your body into that practice, that habit starts to reverse. You start to reverse the habit of needing to breathe more, to breathe in excess.
We can
Okay?
educate ourselves, and we can get that formation and habit of uh, breathing properly. And I understand that what it's doing is that, yes, you're maybe at a less oxygen intake, but the way it is being distributed in our system, it's a higher quality, significantly higher quality. Now, my question here, and I think that you can answer that, is how is that translated in our life quality? How, because we were talking about healing. So how can I heal? Like, what are the effects, the positive effects of knowing positive breathing techniques, or more conscious breathing techniques into my life?
Okay, here goes. Why is that? How is breathing useful to achieve healing? Basically, as you learn to breathe, and as you retrain your main pattern, I mean, as you learn to breathe less, your chemistry inside your body changes. And what changes, basically, it's CO2 levels that goes up. As you breathe less, what happens with your body inside is that you have more CO2 levels. CO2 levels are very important for three main stuff. So first of all, CO2 releases oxygen from the hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is a disc that carries oxygen. When there is sufficient CO2 around the hemoglobin could be released, and there is oxygenation. I mean, as you got more CO2, you can have more access to oxygen. That's the first property of CO2. The second one, it's the most strongest vasodilator we have in our body. So as we have good vasodilation, the arteries and the gastrointestinal tract, the meninges, the capillaries, everything opens up. So as they open, blood flows and oxygen reaches its place. So where oxygen is, there can be processes of reparation, of reconstruction, or of restoration, because what's lacking is oxygen, basically. So, and the third and most important, I think, of all, that how can breathing achieve a good state for auto healing? It's basically this one. Breathing, it's the process that maintains homeostasis. You know what's homeostasis? It's the need that the body has to be in 7.36 pH, in the pH scale. It needs to be a bit alkaline, our body. It cannot move to 7.4 nor to 7.2. It's a very, very thin margin of where it should work. What's the main ingredient for maintaining good breathing and good alkali and base process? Breathing. Breathing regulates our pH. It's the factor that regulates pH. So why is that important? Because all of our metabolical processes function with good pH setting. So if our pH is altered, or we can achieve homeostasis, and our processes go wrong. I mean, they cannot function very well. So as you retrain your breathing and your breathing process, what you're doing is you are regulating your pH, because the correct interchange of CO2 and oxygen, it's what regulates the acidity of your body. So as long as you regulate your pH, then your possibilities of achieving health start working, because everything is set to the norm, so processes can become more effective. But if your body is going from alkali to acidic, acidosis, alkalosis, alkali, acidic, and base, acidic base, your immune system doesn't work, and it works or it stops working, and that's the scenario when you're always sick, people that get sick everywhere. Or it could work because of excess, and that's hypersensitivity. Those are people that some smell provokes an allergic reaction, a little fur, allergic reaction. So that's deranged. It's working from excess or default. It's what happens when you're breathing incorrectly. You can have both views. Okay, so you get it. So that's why it's so important to breathe correctly, because as you have that in tune, you can change your body chemistry and things start working correctly.
And it looks like if we knew how to breathe properly, probably a lot of pharmaceutical companies would be out of business in no time. What happens when once you have conquered the balance? You were talking about the homeostasis, and once we have conquered a chemical balance, a biological balance, our body is feeling healthy, is feeling happy. Probably we have more time, and we're going to go back a little bit to one of our first questions. We can allow ourselves, we can afford the time for self-observation and for emotional healing, for example.
But we can,
well, let me put it like this, that probably when we are sick, we don't have as much time for self-observation, for the philosophical answer. What am I doing in this life? What am I searching for? But the way I kind of see it is that if we learn to breathe properly, if we learn these techniques, and we now have the luxury of a healthy body, that can give us the time to start asking ourselves more profound questions.
Of course. That's the beginning of the journey, of an infinite journey, because it's when you start the journey within. I mean, when you go, the breath, it's the bridge between the outer body and the inner body. So when you correct your breathing process, and when you're in tune with your breath, I mean, everything flows. But your question, I'm not getting it.
It's not, probably it's not an actual question. It's just a point of view in which I feel that once we have conquered the physical health that can be provided through breathing techniques, we now have the space to ask ourselves profound questions. Okay, I have this body. What am I going to do with it?
Exactly. That happens, and that's what happens, because not just your lung system or your cardiovascular system gets better. Your body, I mean, your central nervous system works better. The CO2, or breathing correctly, guarantees that your central nervous system is stabilized. When you are not, what happens when you're in a hurry and when you're hyperventilating? You cannot think correctly. So the opposite happens. When you reduce your breathing, your CO2 enhances in your brain. There is more neurological stability. There is more focus, and you can have more insights because you think clearly. I mean, you have more neurons doing synapses and doing everything. So there's like an enlightenment. I mean, you can think clearly, and you liberate yourself from anguished thoughts, because what happens when you're breathing in excess is that breathing pattern activates noxious thoughts, and thoughts of hurry or thoughts of anguish or of death, or and that's what happens when you can put the brakes to the breathing, to your lungs, and breathe less. You can have also different kind of thoughts. I mean, your thought, your stream of consciousness changes as well, and you start developing, a better. You start feeling happier, more with more vitality and more creative. The effect it has on creativity, it's amazing. It's amazing how can enhance your creativity as you are in tune with your body, not just the breathing. I mean, because that's important. It's not just the lung, it's the posture, for example. And that's why yoga is so helpful, for example. Many people think that yoga, it's a philosophy where they teach you to breathe more, for example. That's a common mistake. People want in yoga to expand rib cages and to inhale deeper and deeper and deeper and more and more and more and more. And that's not the way. I mean, what just does yoga teaches us? Have you practiced yoga, Mirna, for example?
Yes, I have.
Yoga?
I'm not a
Okay.
yogini, but I have, yes.
Okay. What can you tell me about the postures, the asanas, the physical asanas?
Well, to
Do
me,
they make you breathe more, or they make you breathe less?
well, if I'm completely honest with you, it's super hard for me. I find it, and that's what I always listen, like, you still find it hard because you haven't done it enough.
No. So that's not the answer. That's what I mean. How could you possibly on earth think that you can breathe comfortably doing the cobra, for example, being like this, or the headstand, or you name it. You name the asana, and what you would notice in that asana, it's basically that the asana, it's a physical means to contract your body and like to hold it tight, but not to expand. The physical, the purpose of the asana, is to reduce your breathing, not to enhance it. So it's the other way round.
The other
So
way
that's
around.
why,
There are many misconceptions, and that's definitely topic I want us to have another conversation, because I feel that there's a lot of ink that's being left in the ink tank. Before we leave,
exactly.
Esteban, Genesis she's in Spain, and she is asking via Facebook. She is joining us today. Her question is, how can we notice that we are breathing in excess?
Oh, very good question, Genesis. Okay, many ways we can achieve that. First of all, if you are sitting in rest and you can notice movements from your clavicles from your rib cage, noticeable movement. I mean, it's moving always, but noticeable, very pronounced movement. That it's an indication. If you don't see that, there's another one. This one, it's very common. If you are in the cinema and you are with someone at the side, and what happens with that guy? You can hear his breath, no? And you are the whole movie like watching the guy, hey, amigo. What? That's a clear factor that guy, it's hyperventilating. I mean, he's breathing in excess, maybe not hyperventilating crisis, but he's breathing in excess. Breathing should be inaudible. You shouldn't hear your breathing. You shouldn't notice it. It's unnoticeable. Lao Tse, a Chinese philosopher, said, they asked him, how does the superior man breathes? And he answered, the superior man breathes as if he doesn't breathe. And that takes me to babies. Have you noticed babies when they're
it's the
sleeping?
belly breathing, right?
It's their belly breathing, but above the belly, you don't notice any physical movement. Sometimes you run and you put your fingers to the nose of the little kid because you think he's not breathing.
That's exactly what I thought,
what
that
should
we even
happen.
need to go check if they are really breathing, because it doesn't look like.
They're perfectly still, and that should be a good breathing. That implies good breathing process. When does the doctor knows that your baby is sick? When he notices movements of the thoracic area, then he knows that the child is breathing in excess, that he's breathing in excess because he's fighting maybe a virus or something. So the ways to know you are hyperventilating or breathing in excess, another one, you wake up with your mouth totally dry mouth. That's another one. Okay, so those are three little ones. I'll give you more. If we have time, we have time.
Okay. Yes, we do.
So if you sigh and sigh and sigh for everything you do, or yawn and yawn and yawn, there's the sign, chronic sighing or chronic yawning. My mother used to not punish me, but she always was like patronizing me. Esteban, why are you yawning? And I couldn't stop yawning. I was asthmatic. And I had rhinitis, very strong rhinitis. So I had constantly yawning, or sniffing. Or those are common symptoms.
Your respiratory tracts are probably dealing with more mucus than they should be dealing with, or more dryness, probably.
Exactly, with more mucus and more dryness. And when dryness is present, viruses can come along and hang over to your cilia. So that's why it's so important to breathe correctly, so that we have good warmth and good moisture in our tubes, and viruses don't stick to it, and we have a little bit more of immunity. So I think that answers your question, Genesis.
Yes, I think it was a great answer. Question. Thank you. It was very, very broad, and it gave us many ideas on how to identify for breathing properly. Esteban, we have reached the end of our conversations. This time was very, very fast. We want to thank you for sharing with us your knowledge, and the most valuable thing, your time. Before we leave, I would like to give you a minute for you to give us your closing thoughts. I think that probably Esteban is having a little bit of an internet delay. Can you see us? Can you hear us?
I can see us. I can see you guys, but you're not watching me. Can you hear me?
I do hear you, but we don't have your image. It's frozen. Now we got you.
Okay, I'm not frozen now.
Yeah, a little bit frozen, but we're okay for some closing thoughts. Actually, your broadband it got a little bit lower, but let's your bandwidth. Let's give you just a second to give us your closing thoughts. We can say goodbye without allowing you to say bye to our Mindalia TV English community.
Bueno, pues thank you very much, guys, for having me here and letting me share this useful knowledge with you. I hope that you get the message that it's hold, stop, breathe less, don't breathe more, and live more. Breathe less and live more. It sounds contradictory, but that's the way we should do it. So that's what I had for you guys. So thank you very much, Mirna, Mindalia TV, all of you viewers, for your time and for being here with us. Anything you need with me, okay, you can contact me. I don't know where. You can watch me in the internet. Respira con Esteban.
Thank you, Esteban. Thank you for sharing with us your knowledge. It has been definitely a pleasure to have you with us. We got the message, slow down, and we're going to do that. Before leaving, as always, we just want to remind the people watching us that Mindalia is an international nonprofit organization. You can collaborate with us, liking our content, leaving us a positive comment. You can share our information or our content also with someone that you find may be interested in what we share. And you can like us, subscribe. You can donate in our website, www.mindalia.com. Nothing more to say for now, but thank you, of course, as always, and we will see you again very soon in another Mindalia live streaming. Until next time.